Last year, I participated on this TV/web show on Jubilee that featured 6 formerly incarcerated people, and our task on the show was to guess who served the longest federal prison sentence. It was super fun, and after they aired it, it got tens of millions of views. Then they re-aired it again over the weekend, which led to millions of views as well. It also led to people reaching out to me in both good and bad ways. And this morning, the 12th of February 2024, I woke up to a very lengthy voice message from someone who watched it over the weekend, and they said something akin to, regardless of how much television you're on or whatever success you think you have had, nothing changes that you will always be a criminal. You will always be a criminal. And I presume they think when I'm listening to this, like I hear it and I cower like, no, don't say it again, don't say it again, don't say it again, and please don't call me a criminal then. At this point in my career, I've endured so much, both good and bad, you just learn to take it. But instead of getting upset or my feelings are hurt from someone that I don't know, it did force me to reflect and think and say, yes, I am a criminal. I will always be a criminal. But guess what? It's the greatest damn thing that ever happened to me, and I'm going to share why in this video. Before I do, welcome to our channel. So grateful that you're in our community. If you're new, welcome. I'm going to continue to feel worthy of your time. When I say it's the greatest thing that happened to me, I am not insane, nor am I naive, nor am I suggesting you will have the same benefit as me, because I know many people do not. Thousands of people every month come into our community. About 20% of them are home. They're continuing to struggle for myriad reasons, including they don't agree with the government's version of events. They shouldn't have signed a plea agreement. They shouldn't have gone to prison. So I think my experience was easier because I did it. But it does require this embracing of I cannot change the past, and I do not want to let this experience define the rest of my life like it does for so many people. So I hope at some point, it ain't going to happen today, it ain't going to happen tomorrow. If you've just pled guilty, you're getting ready to go to prison, you're just home from prison. There is struggle. I am aware of it. I endured it. At some point, however, with the right plan, if you can reverse engineer this process, as I'll talk about in this video, look to the end and work your way back. This can be, dare I say, one of the greatest things that ever happens to you. So when people say you'll always be a criminal, say, yeah, you're right. I'm glad that I'm a criminal because it changed the way I think, the way I live, and I help more people than I ever did when I was a non-criminal. And I hope you get there. One of the reasons it was so beneficial for me becoming a criminal was embracing this concept of having nothing left to lose. When I was younger, I was easily influenced. I was a bit of a pleaser. Pleasers tend to do things they know are wrong, but they don't want to disappoint the person asking them. And you go to federal prison and you're around a lot of pleasers who knew that it was wrong, but they didn't want to, like I said, disappoint someone asking them. They wanted to go with the flow. They didn't step up. A lot of this groupthink mentality. They kind of kicked any responsibility aside, even if they knew that it was wrong, because they didn't want to stand out and deal with the heat or some shorter term pain for longer term gain, right? I didn't want to deal with pain, having an uncomfortable conversation today, even though it would have been to my longer term benefit. So as a result of that, I'm in federal prison. And while there, it required me to really start over. So if you're going through this, and if you've made bad decisions than me, you need to embrace this idea. You really have nothing left to lose. And that culminated with me coming home from prison and soliciting lawyers and defendants trying to get business. And there were times that it was embarrassing and humbling and getting thrown out of law offices. I would go to sentencing hearings and hand out my book, Lessons from Prison, to defendants leaving the courtroom. Many were off-put by it, but I believed that it would help. Many took it, and many of them became my clients and friends. But I realized as a result of being a convicted criminal with fewer opportunities, as a result of my own bad choices, that I had literally nothing left to lose. What's the worst that would happen if I cold walked for a full day in Los Angeles and nothing came from it? Nothing. I'm right back to where I started. If anything, I have the experience and dignity of having tried and have followed through on the plans that I had written about in my release plan in federal prison, namely that I'm going to build this business helping defendants traverse the system. So as a result of always being a criminal, as this person said, as a result of that, I embrace this prospect of having nothing left to lose, of always trying and doing my best, despite the short-term pain that could follow getting thrown out of a law office or cold calling a professor and having them laugh and hang up on you. Another thing, as a result of always being a criminal, you begin to test yourself. Now, many people in our community have endured adversity and tests that I had never faced. Many have been in the military. They've lost family members. They've really endured things I never had. And when I had my initial test through the criminal justice system, I failed miserably. I lied to my lawyers. I lied to the government. I flushed money down the toilet. I made decisions that I thought were helping me, but if anything, they only hurt me because it ended up leading to a longer federal prison sentence. So I failed that initial test. And then I got to federal prison and I said, okay, I'm a criminal now. Now I'm surrounded by people who have had a lot of pain, yet they're getting through it with their dignity. They are making such progress every single day, incrementally every single day, and they're memorializing it. They're doing it with 5 and 10 and 15-year federal prison sentences with wife and children. Many of them have no resources. Their family couldn't even afford to come and visit more than 3 months or every 6 months. Or the BOP, despite saying they're going to send you to a prison within 500 miles of your home, might ship you to a prison 1,500 or 2,000 miles away. I saw that. So I developed a sense of, if they could overcome this adversity, how can I learn from them? Indeed, I would watch them. I would study them. I would listen to them as much as I might not want to admit it. Listen to them on the phone and listen to how they would respond to their mom or son or kids and think, that is a man of action. That is a man of integrity. That is a man who can overcome adversity, that he's not going to see his family for the next 3 months, but he's handling it so well. I want to be more like him. So as a result of always being a criminal, it forced me for the first time in my life to overcome an adversity that I had created, and finding perspective through that experience was transformative. Indeed, when things go wrong or have bad days, as we all do, I immediately find a sense of perspective and gratitude and remind myself that it could be worse. Indeed, it can be much worse. And I never thought this way until I became a convicted criminal. I was always focused on what I was losing rather than embracing gratitude for what remained. Never would have happened if I wasn't a criminal, which is why I will always say that all of the consequences of being a convicted criminal, prison, the reputational fallout for a while, the devastation to my family, losing my freedom, all of these consequences were worth it because of all the benefits that now follow being, as this person likes to say, you will always be a criminal. It's worth it, including learning to think differently as an underdog. As a result of my conviction, people encouraged me to run from it, not to talk about it. Indeed, when I was in federal prison working on my manuscript, Lessons from Prison with Michael, it's somewhere in here. You can still get the book for free, and it will be out on Audible soon. My family would say, son, we love you, we support you, but don't write about this. Just come home. You went to USC, you're young, you'll find a job, you're smart, something is going to come from that. And they had my best intentions, but they didn't understand what it is like to be a criminal, to have people view you negatively, to have these DOJ releases. They didn't understand. They wanted me to pretend that it didn't happen, and I didn't want to pretend that it didn't happen. It did. I was in federal prison after all. So as a result of always being a criminal, I embraced this concept that I can't go toe to toe with someone else looking for a job because they might not be a criminal, and all things considered, the non-criminal is probably going to get the job. So rather than pretend it didn't happen, I began to write openly and aggressively and share it despite massive amounts of negative feedback, as much as they love me initially from my family. And of course, in time when it works out, everyone says it's a great idea. Now 13, 14, 15 years later, when people leave me hate messages or nasty messages because our team is successful and we help people, they think it just happened overnight. They don't realize it started when Michael went to prison in 1987 and the 2 decades worth of work that he put in when I met him in 2008, then building this business together, really creating this industry. Now, I'm not saying there weren't people offering advice way back when I went to federal prison, but it was boilerplate stuff. How not to get raped in prison, how not to get killed in prison. I mean, garbage nonsense stuff that isn't in existence in a low security, in a minimum security camp. So we wanted to professionalize it and really help people focus on what matters most. What does the rest of your life look like because of this felony conviction? And as obsessed as some people are about getting out early, many people get what they want. They don't realize the parade of horribles that awaits them on the other side because they're not doing things that I began to do on the inside. Understanding their tendencies or idiosyncrasies, embracing this idea that they've got to rebuild and rebrand by not pretending it didn't happen, but by embracing it. So the reason being a criminal is so beneficial is because it compelled or forced me to think differently. And last but not least, a huge benefit to being a criminal, I understand the consequences that follow bad choices. I understand the pressures that we face, how easily we can rationalize these choices, and I recognize how easily we could seize opportunities that can derail the life we're supposed to live. So I hope the measly 18 months I served in a minimum security camp, I shouldn't say I hope, I know the time I served in a minimum security camp is not just enabling me to live a life of meaning and relevance, because I know what happens when we stray. I'm hoping it enables me to share these lessons with people like you if you're justice impacted, to help you understand that Well, today is a tough day if you've yet to be sentenced and you're wondering what that sentence will be or what you'll do if you lose that law license. I'm not here to give you happy talk or spin you. No cliches or platitudes for me. I'm articulating to you while it's tough today, if you are able to embrace this reality and look 1, 3, 5, 10, 15 years out, as hard as that might be, this can turn out to be one of the greatest things to ever happen to you. And that's how I'll close. This person who left me a message, if you watch this video, I appreciate you leaving that message. There might be something going on in your life that compelled you to watch this TV show and then leave me this nasty message. And I'm sorry that you felt compelled to leave that message. And I'm sorry that you're enduring some pain that would have compelled you to pick up the phone and call a total stranger. I hope whatever you're going through, you get better, you get stronger, and recognize hating other people isn't going to get you closer to what you want. And to those of you watching this video who are going through this criminal justice system, the only way you will find meaning through this experience and let your experience turn out to be one of your greatest assets is if you use every day documenting and memorializing your journey. And guess what? If that sounds like a sales pitch, it is. If you can do the documenting and memorializing, do it. If you'd like to work with our team to create, memorialize it, and do it, presuming it's not happy talk, presuming you're honest. Got a call from someone recently that said, I pled guilty. There's 200 victims, millions of dollars in losses, but other people have done this. Because of that reason, I feel as if I'm wrongfully convicted. Well, you pled guilty. You just told me that you did it. Now you're wrongfully convicted. Well, it's kind of gray. No, it's not gray. If you can discern black and white, you can discern gray. And it's taken him so long to finally acknowledge, I could have maybe done some things differently, but yet, guess what? He's still not there. And as a result of that, you know what's coming? More problems. So if you're willing to do the work, if you're willing to introspect, if you're willing to share lessons learned, who you will become moving forward, hold yourself accountable, create a record and build on it day by day by day by day by day, in time, like me, like so many others in our community, someday if someone says you will always be a criminal, you'll say, you know what? I will always be a criminal. But it's the greatest thing that ever happened.